Greetings, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Dais Global Yoga Festival in association with the Yoga Mission and Yogis Without Borders. The festival, spanning 26th to 28th January 2022, celebrates the International Day of Education during the Learning Planet Festival. Join us as we bring to you workshops, learning opportunities, and practice yoga together. I kick off the session by introducing our organization. The Dais has a vision to empower people towards a better life. The achievement of SDGs and leaving no one behind are some of our core objectives, with the focus on environmental preservation, ensuring equality for all, improved education for children and youth, and the creation of a peaceful and prosperous world. The Dais has collaborated with civil society organizations, international agencies, think tanks, educational institutions, and youth from all across the world, including industry and academia, for several on ground and virtually held initiatives, emphasizing on SDG 4, quality education, SDG 5, gender equality, SDG 13, climate action, and SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, along with critical interaction, complementing these spaces of SDGs and related goals. The Learning Planet Festival was launched in 2020 by CRI France, that is the Center for Research and Interdisciplinarity, and UNESCO. The festival is open to passionate learners of all ages. This is the third edition of the Learning Planet Festival, which celebrates the International Day of Education on 24th January, featuring over 400 local events and online activities co-organized with over 200 partner organizations from around the world. The festival is an open platform of workshops, debates, forums, and other events dedicated to creating new ways of learning and teaching. Now, allow me to introduce our partners for the Yoga Festival, Yogis Without Borders and the Yoga Mission. The Yoga Mission is an international charitable organization involved with residential and non-residential schools and women's projects, particularly in Varanasi, India, serving 475 underprivileged women and children. Through the Brahmrishi School of Yoga, they teach authentic yoga and philosophy courses, as well as support these subjects globally. Ancient education was very different from the modern education system. In ancient times, these rishi ascetics brought students out of individualism, irrespective of caste, creed, gender, or color, to realize the existent unity behind diversity. Yoga was the means to achieve that objective. The ancient education system was for eternal, everlasting peace of mind, which consequently manifested infinite peace. We are committed to bringing these skills alongside the best education being available to all without discrimination. Yogis Without Borders is an international team of experts spreading the knowledge and practices of yoga's tradition to anyone interested to transform their life through its methods. Yoga has always been a teaching that moved its practitioners and everybody it touches to go beyond the boundaries humanity has made for itself. Yoga has always been a teaching of constant transformation. It constantly changed itself and taught others how to evolve. At Yogis Without Borders, they unite yoga teachers and students from all around the world for the sake of promoting old and developing new ideas of yoga. For today's event, I have the pleasure of introducing Tejas, or TJ as his friends lovingly call him. He is an Australian based training facilitator by profession and a trained happiness coach by passion. He has over a decade of experience in impacting lives of people as well as organizational learning and well being cultures through training. He identifies himself as a human being of the world, literally having been born and raised in Kenya, matured in India, and now currently seasoning in Australia. Through his travels and experiences, he has witnessed and experienced real life stories across different cultures and stratas of society. Tejas is a trained happiness coach certified by the Berkeley Institute of Wellness, California. He has founded his social coaching enterprise called A Culture of Happiness. With this enterprise, he specializes in empowering people's lives with wisdom, hacks, and habits to enable them to lead a more joyful and brilliant life. The aim is to spread a culture of happiness by spreading happy vibes to create happy people and happy spaces. I now give the floor to TJ.
Namaste. Thank you, Arisha. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction. It's definitely brought a smile on my face. And what we're here to talk about today, before I tell you what we're here to talk about, I have one request, one big request from all of the audience, that on this journey of today, I request you to bring your most authentic self to start off with. Be authentic. And when I mean, what I mean by being authentic is bring your true self. We are going to go on a journey, but if you want to experience the true joy and fruits of this journey, I want you to bring your real self. Not what you put up on Instagram, not what you put up on Snapchat, but your real self. There's not going to be likes. There's not going to be comments. There's nobody judging you here. It's me, you, and the room you sit in, the room I sit in. The best part is we're connected virtually. So you don't need to fear of who's watching you, because no one is. In fact, I cannot see you as well. So for this 1 hour today, whatever we talk about, whatever I ask you to think and imagine, let it be real. Let it be authentic. And once you're able to do that, I'd like you to be present for this journey. Be here for this 1 hour or more after that, obviously. And the reason for that is I could be talking, my mouth could be moving, my sound could be reaching your ears, but mentally, if you're somewhere else, if emotionally you're thinking or feeling something else, then you may as well not be here at all. If you really want to experience the joy, and if you really want to go down this journey of joy, I'd like you to be here with me and yourself now. Allow me to take you on a journey, and we're going to make it interesting. I hope to make it fun as well. But for that, don't be sitting out with your friends. Don't be sitting at work thinking about what happened and what didn't. Don't be thinking about your children, family, or partner. For this part of the journey, I want you to be with you, yourself. And that's the only thing I ask. Be authentic and be present. And with that, let's start the journey of joy. You may be wondering, why am I using the word joy? Let me ask you, what do you think is the difference between feeling happy and practicing joy? Take a moment, think about it. What do you think is the difference between feeling happy and practicing joy? Feel free to add your responses on the chat box. Thank you. Lightness, peace, excitement. Very, very well said. So what do you feel on a regular basis when something nice happens to you, when something exciting happens to you? What do you generally feel or experience? We feel happy, correct? I hear someone saying, beautifully put, joy is deeper, it's more long term. You've said it very right, Esther. That's perfectly put. As for me, from my years of experience, joy is actually being present, is being in harmony with your true and authentic self. Joy comes from the deep inside. It's something that you have to practice for you to experience it. Happiness is something that is generally caused by external circumstances. So, for example, something nice happens, you feel happy. You get some good news, you feel excited. Something good happens at work, you feel elated. All of these are different expressions and emotions of happiness. Now, happiness, more often than not, is something that is caused by an external circumstance or an external situation. It's not always in our hands. In fact, more often than not, it's always an external thing that makes us happy. Winning the lottery can make you very happy. But how many of us have gone ahead and won the lottery? But do we have sad days as well? Do we experience days in which we're truly frustrated, angry, and disappointed? Yes, it happens to all of us. And it is during these times that if you're able to consciously practice joy, you would be able to manage and handle all of life's turbulent situations more fluid. What I mean by fluid is flow. Have you experienced being blissed out? Has anyone experienced being blissed? Like, completely blissed out, being in bliss. Thank you, Mataji. Is it something that we feel very often, or is it easy to feel blissed out? Generally, for the common or normal people, being blissed out is when they're high. Now, I'm not going to go down the details of what makes us high. Many people have different avenues of getting high, but people love getting high, right? You love getting intoxicated. You do it maybe because of stress. You do it to be celebrating. You do it simply to have a good time. And you want to go into high, you want to go into bliss. But we all know that the most commonly approach of getting high is not always legal. Is not always legal. The ways to get high and blissed that is most common is not always legal, unfortunately, and it's not always good for your body. So then, how about if I tell you there is a way to feel bliss, like Esther says, with the birth of children, on a more regular basis, without using those illegal or harmful substances. It's called practicing joy. Happiness is actually an emotion or it's actually an emotion or an experience derived from joy. And for those of us who have experienced joy, who know how to practice joy, you realize that it does not mean that you're smiling and laughing all the time. It simply means that in any situation, be it stress, be it disappointment, or for that matter, be it envy, you are present and are able to handle that situation more fluidly. It is possible. Think of it this way. Think of it this way. When something goes wrong, if you're an actor in that movie, you're experiencing the emotions, you're experiencing the turbulence, you're experiencing all of those things whilst being the player or the actor in that scene. Sometimes that scene is fun, sometimes it's not. What if I told you that you could be on the director's chair, or you could be the coach looking at the entire scenario playing out with a bird's eye view? Would you like that? Having a bird's eye view of whatever's unfolding and being able to then decide what's the best way to go about it, what's the best way to kind of go about the situation. Would you like to have such a position rather than being the player or the actor? So then what we need to do for that is understand how joy works. Now, there is a lot of things that we teach as a part of the Art of Joyfulness program that I run. But the most important foundation, the most important element of joy is gratitude. Yes, I know you're already laughing to yourself. You're already thinking that's the most overused and cliched term and practice for the year or of our times. In fact, I think the whole of 2020 and 2021, our social media feed was filled with gratitude. But then let me ask you, did you really start practicing gratitude? Or did you just kind of smile at it, having a look, having seen it on your social media feed? Or did you share it at most and said, oh, wow, this is so nice. This is so inspiring. This is beautiful. This is the way it should be. Did you genuinely, in-depth practice being grateful yourself? Let me tell you a story about being grateful. Years ago, there was a king, and he was a very pompous and a vain king. A king who was very proud of himself. This king had 3 beautiful daughters, and they came of age. He thought, it's time I get them married. But being the vain and the proud king that he was, he decided that he would first put to test as to how much he, the great king, means to his beautiful daughters. So he calls upon them and says, so princesses, you've grown and are ready to go to your suitor and get married. But before that, I would like you to tell me what I mean to you. I have been the one who's brought you up. I have given you all of these life's luxuries and beauties, and you look the way you are the way you are because of me, your father, the king. Could you now tell me what I mean to you? So the daughters are like, okay. So the first daughter comes up and says, oh, dear father, dear king, put all of the world's gold, bring it all together, and you would mean more to me than all of that gold put together. Put all of the world's gold together, you mean more to me than all of the world's gold put together. And this made the king proud and happy and smile. He's like, wow, that's what I wanted to hear. Wonderful, wonderful. I love it. Then came the next daughter's turn, the second daughter. And she came on saying, oh, dear father, I can't thank you enough for the jewelry that I wear. And to me, dear father, bring and collect all of the world's emeralds and rubies and pearls. Bring them all together, all of the world's pearls and rubies and emeralds. Dear father, you mean more to me than all of those stones put together. And with that, the father was like, oh, he couldn't control his pride and his happiness. He's like, wow, now that's what I'm talking about. And he was really curious as to what the third daughter, the youngest, would say. So then came along her, and he asked her, so dear daughter, it's your turn now. What do I mean to you? And this daughter was timid, was quiet, and she just kind of continued looking down. And the king was like, oh, so you're thinking so hard. And the daughter does not say anything. She just looks up and smiles. And the king's like, okay, go on, come out with it. She says, dear father, you mean more to me than the salt in my food. Yes. The king got shocked. What? Yes, dear father, you mean more to me than the salt, the table salt in my food. The king got flabbergasted. Are you comparing me to common salt? Are you serious? Daughter says, yes, father. Salt, that's more to me, that you mean more to me than salt. And obviously the king got very furious. How dare she compare me to common salt? I will teach her a lesson. He storms out of his castle and walks on the street in a completely frustrated and disappointed mood. And as he's walking the streets of his city, he comes across this beggar, poor man looking person sitting on the street with tattered clothes and then just sitting there. And he looks up at the king and says, oh, sire, I've fallen on some tough times. Could you please help me? And I promise to repay you back. I just need to kind of get onto my feet, and I promise to repay you back. The king at first ignored him, in fact, kicked him on the side and walked past him. But then he got an idea. He's like, hold on, wait a minute. Turns back and he's like, I have got the best thing I will ever do to you, or you will ever get as a gift. And the man is like, what? How would you like to get married to a royal princess? And that's exactly what the king does. The king gets the daughter married to this poor looking man and banishes them away to wherever this man came from. And the daughter doesn't say a thing. As time goes by, the daughter gets to know this person, that he was not actually a beggar. He was just someone who'd fallen on tough times, but truly he was a very hardworking, intelligent person. So together with the daughter, they kind of work hard, help each other out to form their own little shop, business, and they grow. So 5 years, fast forward 5 years, they've established themselves to be a respectable couple in the neighboring town from where the king was. And the man keeps on telling the daughter that should we invite your father over for dinner or lunch? She's like, now's not the time. Now's not the time. And then one day she says, yes, let's invite the king for a meal. And by that time, obviously, it's been 7 years and both of them look a little bit differently. So anyways, they invite upon the king, and then they invite him with all pomp and glory, saying, oh, dear king, please come to our house for a meal. And by this time, they themselves have established themselves to be a really high and respected family of that town. So the king did not refuse. Comes up for dinner, sits down for the meal. The daughter approaches saying that, dear sire, and she's veiled herself, not to show her face. She's veiled herself, saying, dear sire, dear king, it's such a respectful thing that you are here having a meal. I will serve you myself personally. So she puts down the plate. The plate is made of real gold and real silver. Then she starts putting the empty bowls, which do not have the food yet. And the bowls each have a diamond, a ruby, and emeralds, and all of these beautiful jewels that they could think of. And the king feels happy. He's like, wow, now that's the way to treat a king. And he gets really excited. And then the food gets served. And he has his first spoon of the food. This one does not have salt. Okay, maybe that's a mistake, or maybe it's supposed to be, the dish is supposed to be like that. Takes a spoon of the next dish and has it. He's like, no salt in this as well. And he tries every single dish on his plate. And there was, obviously, for a king, there was like 10, 12 dishes. And he's like, gets angry. He's like, how dare they serve the king food without salt? And he looks up at the woman. He's like, is this a mistake? Is this a joke? How dare you serve me food without salt? And then the daughter removes her veil and asks the father, dear father, but your plate is made of gold. The bowls have emeralds and rubies. Did these not make the food tasty enough? I thought you didn't care about salt. I thought salt was not important to you. Your plate's made of gold. Your bowl's got ruby and emeralds in it. That should be good enough for the food to taste amazing, shouldn't it? And the king then realized the value of salt. Dear audience, take a moment and share with us what you got or learned out of this story. What did you take away from the story? Sometimes, yes, it's the daily things that matter. Wealth is not everything. And sometimes we're not grateful enough for the small little things in our life. Gratitude. This was just a small little story, but if you ask yourself, what are you as a person grateful for in your own life? And for that, I'd like to kind of ask you or urge you to think of, to start off with, I like to do the grateful practice. I like to do the grateful practice in 3 categories. And this is what we're going to do together. So for the next moment, I'd like you to obviously close your eyes if you're comfortable. And ask yourself, authentically being present here, you as a person, for who you are, what and where you are, what are you grateful for yourself as a person? What are you grateful for about yourself as a person. Ask yourself and imagine me as a person. Am I grateful for my fingers? Am I grateful for my smile? I've gotten a lot of compliments about my smile. Am I grateful for being able to walk? Or simply, am I grateful for being a human being? Ask yourself, you as a person, which part of you are you grateful for? God, the Creator, has made you into this amazing human being that you are. Talk, listen, eyes. Are you grateful for these elements that are all working for you? Your intelligence. Are you good at a particular aspect in life? Are you grateful for your sense of humor? Are you the one who cracks the jokes in your group of friends? Are you grateful for having a very sharp memory? I personally am very bad with names. I don't remember names. I wish I could better remember names. But I'm sure there's some of you out there who remember names like that. Are you grateful for that ability? So what we're trying to say and do here is, what are you grateful for about yourself? And I'm going to give you a minute to think about what you're grateful for about yourself. Right. Thank you for sharing. Loving family, amazing friends, and health. In fact, that's the perfect cue. That's the perfect cue for us to go into the next layer. We started off with ourselves. We now move to the next layer of being grateful for what we have around us, our environment, our surrounding, the people in our lives. And the first thing first is the fact that you are on this call attending today. That goes to say that you have a life that many, many people out there in the world dream of. Am I wrong? If you have an internet connection and you have a laptop or a phone in which you're able to hear me and see me, and you have earphones or headphones, and you are in a room comfortable enough, or you have the luxury of this time to be able to attend this session and not worry about anything else, or not have something impending to be doing, that itself says that you've got a life to be grateful for. Did you ever think of that? For a moment, think of the life you've had so far. Your friends, your family, your colleagues, your workplace, your society, your community, and overall your social circle. The life that you have, are you grateful for it? The scenario and the situation that you have, are you grateful for it? For a moment, I'd like you to close your eyes and think of the one or two things that you are happy or grateful about that happened in the past week. Think back to a week ago. What is that one or two things that happened in your week that you're like, yes, I'm glad this happened, or didn't happen? My office has 80 cases of COVID. I'm grateful I'm not one of them. I'm glad that at work, my boss appreciated me for the work that I did. My mom gave me a call and said that she had such an amazing week health-wise because she does not feel well. My friends remembered my birthday. I was driving to work and a lady actually passed me by and said, "Oh, wow, what a lovely car." And that took me to the top of the moon. What is it that has happened in your previous week that is noteworthy, that maybe you didn't take the time to appreciate enough? I'm sure there is something, at least one thing. Take a moment and think about it. Yes? Now that you've thought of the past, let's think of the future. What is the one thing that you're looking forward to in the week or the month ahead? Office, work, family, friends, life. Is there a game that you're really excited for? Some sun in Delhi, that's beautiful. However, have you appreciated the beautiful winter in Delhi? Because I can tell you this, we have a lot of sun where I am. And the four seasons, that's exactly right. I'm so glad you brought that up. Do you find yourself complaining, "Oh, it's too hot. Oh, it's too cold. Oh, it's too wet"? Do you take time to appreciate the weather you have now? If ever you find yourself complaining of the weather, talk to a farmer and he'll make you understand the value of all four seasons, or three, like some countries have. So what is it that you're looking forward to in the future in your life? And why that is important is because it will help you relish that moment when it actually happens. This is the only time that I'll tell you to venture into the future. Otherwise, to experience joy, the biggest secret is to be present. Here, now, this moment, where you are. Take the position of the top angle view and look down at what is happening. Don't race ahead, but for this moment, yes. So once you've taken a moment to think of what are you looking forward to, that's the second layer. So the first layer always is myself. What am I grateful for in and about myself? The second layer is about what is around me, friends, family, material things, if you may. Where do I stand? My career, the position I hold within my friends, my society, right? What is it, everything around me that I'm grateful for? And third layer, the third layer, I would like you to think beyond yourself, go beyond your society and your community, and think macro. Think the world and where we are today and where we've progressed. Because what you don't realize is that as human beings, we are the most intelligent species on this planet. We have this one life existence. Our problem is that we are living our life in our own little shell. And we're not actually thinking of the purpose that we exist for. As human beings, you're part of a bigger cycle. You're part of a whole world, which is part of a universe, which is part of a cosmos. I know it may be difficult and boring as well to think at that higher level when you're saying that I have so many stresses in my life. I have so much drama in my life. And that's why it's so important to think beyond your life. Think beyond your existence. In the bigger scheme of things, you are but a speck. Your existence is but a micro dot. Do you really want to complain about the pollution, the traffic, the corruption, and the dramas at work? Or do you want to let it be, let it free, and continue appreciating the life that you have as a human being on this world? Be grateful for having a phone. Be grateful for where the world, the age, and the stage you've progressed. Be grateful for being in the world today. It's so funny. As a part of my other meditation sessions, I actually ask people this question. If you had a chance, if you had a time machine, would you rather go 50 years back? Or would you rather go 50 years forward? And I ask you the same question. If you had a time machine, would you rather go 50 years back or would you rather go 50 years forward? I like what you say, living nowadays. And it's interesting. It's always a debate. But there was one person who had a very, very interesting version of their answer. They obviously wanted to go forward. They're like, ask yourself, what has the world come from? It's come from World War One. And obviously he had a very, very philosophical approach. He's like, we've come from the cavemen. We've come from evolution time. We've come from, like, if you ask yourself, the world has consistently progressed and moved forward, if you think of it, right? I mean, from the time when all a human being was concerned about was their cave, to now we're potentially going to be building a hotel and a home on another planet. Look at where the world has come. The world has really moved. And that is the mindset that if you ask yourself, the way the world is moving, have you been grateful of having that view of where of being present here today, of being present in today's times, when you could make a call, when you could be attending this session. Could you have imagined doing this 50 years back? We would have had to wait for me to come to India or you to attend a session in Australia, correct? This entire Learning Planet Festival, this Dais, attending the great meditation with Mataji all the way in India, that would not have happened had it not been for the tech that we have today. Gratefulness. It's that little seed that if you cultivate in your life on a regular basis, it will bear you immense fruit. And it's not something just to talk about. I promise you, if you want to experience true gratitude, then you will have to start writing it down, right? However you're comfortable. I'm not saying physically writing. In fact, personally, my handwriting is terrible. My teacher used to scold me. My mom still scolds me. I sometimes cannot understand my own handwriting. I'm not joking. But that's where technology comes into play. I make notes on my phone. And what you realize is sometimes it may sound boring. But then when you start looking back at your previous notes, just that process of thinking, like how you've gone through this experience now, making it into a ritual, making it into a practice, and doing it, showing up for it authentically is when you'll bear fruit. Like you don't go to the gym and expect to see results in one day, do you? Going to the gym is not an easy thing. Waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go for a run is not a nice, easy, pleasant thing. But you do it. You do it for a month to see results. You don't jump onto the weighing machine every single day thinking, oh, I ran 5 kilometers. I should have lost 5 kilos. That's not possible. Similarly, you'll need to cultivate this practice of gratitude on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, whichever works for you, but do it. Turn up for it to actually see the difference. Have you met those people? I'm sure you have, or you know someone in your group or your company or your society, that one person who's always so positive, always so optimistic, and nothing can disturb these people. They're so blissed out. And you'll be like, how does this guy do it? How come he or she is always so happy and in a very, blissed out stage? Because they probably practice gratitude. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the first most important foundation of experiencing joy. Being grateful for what you have, being grateful for what you are, right? And science has proven that allowing yourself to take notice of things and making it a conscious habit automatically puts you into a good mood. It's not me saying, it's not Google saying, science has proven it, that if you write that journal or if you make those notes on being grateful, you will go into a good mood. And I mean, in any situation, if you ask yourself, right? You're in a tough situation, you're in a turbulent situation, you have two choices, broadly speaking. You could complain, you could whinge, you could think, or you could think of what's the one positive thing that's there in that situation. Correct? Look at it both ways, right? The situation is not going to change. But if you complain about it, it's going to make it worse. You're going to feel more miserable, as against forcing yourself to think positively or being grateful that, hey, it could have been worse. Correct? Appreciate it and look on the brighter side, and you could feel better about it. Because remember one thing, no amount of regret will change your past. No amount of regret will change your past. No amount of fear or anxiety will change your future. However, any amount of gratitude for the now can change your present circumstance. You know what the biggest problem of human beings is? That the most important elements and aspects of our intelligence we are using to our detriment. As human beings, we are the only species on this earth who has the ability to think back to the past and also think of the future. Basically, putting it very simply, we have a very vivid sense of imagination and a super strong sense of memory. So what's happening, the problem today is that we're either living in the past or we're living thinking of the future. Ladies and gentlemen, the second most seed or element to be happy or joyful is to be present in the moment where you are now. That is what helps you uplift from being the player or the actor to the director. Whatever it is that you're doing, your drive to work, to me, my drive to work in the morning is my meditation. Have you ever counted the number of traffic lights to work? Have you ever counted the stairs at your workplace? The flower pots in your society? The windows on your building? Small things. If you're present in a situation, you could either be the emotion that you're going through. You could be angry. You could be miserable. You could be frustrated. You could be the emotion. Or simply, you could pull yourself up out and simply acknowledge and feel the emotion. Think about it. There's a difference. Be the emotion or acknowledge and feel the emotion. Be present in that moment. Instead of eating and having your phone, or eating and being somewhere else thinking about work, why not be present there with your food? Do you actually chew your food 32 times? No, we don't. Mom used to tell me that, but I'm too preoccupied to chew my 32 times. Your friend disappointed you. Would you want to kind of make the situation worse for yourself by being disappointed? Or would you like to pick yourself up and think, hey, there must be a reason why he or she did what they did? Can I practice some empathy? Can I not make myself feel more miserable over it than I already am? And trust me, that will feel better and stronger for yourself. Being present, being there, being in that moment. Experience those little things around you, whatever is going on, whatever situation you are in, being present in that moment. Because what that enables you with is you're experiencing the joy of that moment. And again, it takes practice. It's not something that happens easily because you keep on running away. Like now, I'm talking to you now, but hey, what are you thinking? Are you here now? Where are you? No, I mean now, here. Are you here? How long are you able to be here? Let's try it out. So for the next few minutes, I'm not going to say anything. And I want you to try and be present here, looking at me or the screen as much as you can. And the moment you see your thoughts racing somewhere else, just put it on the chat box. Yes, my mind's wandering off. and see how easy or difficult it is to be present. Ready? The challenge is very simple. The moment you start thinking of something else, anything, and like I said, it's just me and you talking, right? No one's judging. The moment you start thinking anything else, just put in the chat box that I'm done, and let's see how long you can be present here now. Just be here. Yes. It's not easy, is it? That's because the mind is made. That's because the mind is made like that. It takes practice. It will take you practice on a regular basis to be present when you're in that meeting, to focus on the presenter and not think about the 10,000 mails that you have sitting in your inbox. It will take practice for you to give your full attention to when your friend is talking and not think about what's wrong with them, or what you think that they're not nice or they're not good, or what you think like, yeah, whatever, let him say what he wants. It takes practice to give attention. But the day you do, the moment you're able to, you will feel the true joy of being present in the moment now. So those are the two things to start off with. There are, like I said, there are a heap of, and you may be watching this not on live stream, but you may be watching this later. So please practice this at your home. Please practice this whenever you're getting to watch this. But that's the two things that I wanted to talk about today to start off with: being present and being grateful. Amongst many other things, there's a heap of things that we can practice, but it is something that is actually vital for our times today. Think of all the turbulence and the disruption and all of the going ons around the world. Now more than ever, we need to practice some joy and let that joy come from within, and not be a happiness that's dependent on the world outside. Because remember, life is not what happens outside of you. Life is what you make for yourself, your nature, and your existence. If you are of a complaining nature, life will give you more reasons to complain. If you're miserable all the time, life will be miserable for you. However, if you practice joy, gratitude, and kindness, life will return this for you. And even if it doesn't, it will make whatever is going on around you seem more pleasant and easier to take in. So all I have for you is practice joy for yourself, and the world will be much simpler and pleasant to experience. Experience life in the fullest. Namaste. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Tejas for such an enlightening session. I think I speak for everyone when I say that the modern era's competitive rat race can often get very overwhelming. And in such situations, taking a step back and expressing gratitude thinking about what makes us happy and what keeps us going. That definitely helps us cope with such pressures. I'd also like to thank our partners for the festival, Yoga Mission and Yogis Without Borders, without whom none of this would have been possible. And lastly, I'd like to thank the Dais and the Learning Planet Festival team for their constant support throughout the event. On behalf of the Dais, I thank everyone who attended for their participation. Thank you and have a great day ahead.